Hello and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. Today, it's a little Robin ice skating, I believe. Yes, ice skating. And then I've got this little tingly, tangly choker on, which goes with the hat. It's all coming together. It's all coming together. Today, I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in the month of November. So this is my November wrap-up. However, I'm also going to include the books that I've read so far this month in December, just because normally when it gets to the end of the month, which is when I normally do my wrap-up, last year I didn't do a December wrap-up because it was all Christmas books, and I just felt like in January hearing about the books that I've read in December probably isn't like the most fun thing and also the most relevant thing. So I thought I would talk about the books that so although it's my November wrap-up, it's also my sort of like beginning of December wrap-up. It's only the 7th though, and I've read 7 books this month, so well done me. That's a book a day, a Christmas book a day. I will start with the books that I read in the last half of November. And it was non-fiction November, so I read a lot of non-fiction. So the first book we'll do the books and then I'll do the audiobook. So the first book I read in the second half of November was Body Positive Power by Megan Jane Crabbe. Now, if you have watched my Beautiful Books gift guide, you will see that I included this. I really, really enjoyed this. I follow Megan on Instagram. She's got an account there of Body Posy Panda. I always have to have a look at it because I always forget what order it goes in. Body Posy Panda. And she is an advocate for being positive about your body and celebratory about the skin that you live in. And she's got a sort of backstory that goes with that I didn't realise. She suffered from an eating disorder throughout most of her sort of childhood and discovered body positivity and overcame her anorexia and now is keen to spread the message about body positivity. Now, I'm not sure I'm the target audience for this book, just because I feel very, very body positive anyway. Oh, it's hard getting words body positive out. I feel very body positive anyway. I've made a video about body positivity. I will link that down below if you're interested in seeing it. Set in summer, I've got no sleeves on or anything. It's remember the summer when it wasn't raining and being gross? It's not gross. It's lovely. It's Christmas. So I don't feel like I'm the target audience for this book. However, I learned a lot. It reiterated a lot of the beliefs that I had and made me feel stronger in myself, made me feel wonderful, and it just made me feel good about myself. And it's just fierce, great, celebratory, makes you rethink about everything. There was a lot in here that I sort of educated me in, that in terms of advertising and schemes, stuff that I sort of knew in the back of my head, but it sort of brought to the forefront of my my brain, like how we're almost duped into thinking that we need to be a certain size or shape or colour or have a certain hairstyle, etc, etc. And yeah, it just reiterated everything I thought. Really, really enjoyed this. Gave it 4 stars. I thought it was brilliant. So yeah, and as I said, I included it in my Beautiful Books gift guide. So very much enjoyed that. Pop that in there. The next book I read was Riverine, which is a memoir by Angela Palm. So this is Angela Palm's memoir of a place, the place that she grew up in rural Indiana. She had a friend, a very dear friend when she was younger, who lived next door to her, who she was in love with, who went on to brutally kill and murder an elderly couple. So it's sort of her rediscovering what it's like to go back to the places that she grew up with not a particularly happy childhood, and just reliving some events that happened for her and what it's like to revisit the place that you've grown up when you haven't been there for many years. I found it beautiful. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. However, I did think the writing was really lovely, and I found the bits about... because I got this recommendation from Mercedes when Mercedes and I were doing a podcast about non-fiction books. When she was talking about it, I thought it would be a lot more about her relationship with the chap who did who murdered, who she was very close with when she was younger, and then who did the double murder. However, that's very, very like lightly touched upon in the first sort of 2/3, and then the last third is about her visiting him and their relationship then when she's now married, etc. And I did find that bit probably the most interesting. However, I can't deny that this is written beautifully, and I very much enjoyed it. So yeah, I think I gave it 3 stars. So yeah. The next book is the last non-fiction book that I've got here in my hands, and that is An Age of License, a travelogue by Lucy Knisley. So Lucy Knisley wrote French Milk, what else did she do? Relish, and a book that I bought my sister for Christmas last year. I think it's called Something Old, Something New, or Something New maybe. And she is a cartoonist or an illustrator, and she writes graphic novels. Now, I really, really, really like her art style. I like the drawings. They're really simple but effective, and like I feel like she does characters and humans very well. And I like the colours that she uses. As you can see, she uses sort of a muted palette throughout. I like those buildings and things. However, I just didn't feel like there was much of a story in here. It was just sort of her travelling throughout Europe, but there wasn't much. It was just basically like things sort of pulled together. Now, something else that I remember watching Mercedes, I think she DNA'd it, but French Milk, which is a book about, which is a sort of graphic novel book about when Lucy went to Paris for a summer with her mum, is very moany. There's a lot of moaning in there and how she misses her friends at home and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And this was a little bit like that as well. Not as bad as French Milk, but yeah, a little bit moany as well. But I do really love the illustrations and the artwork. I think it's very good. So I think I gave that 2 stars. And then the last non-fiction thing that I read was I listened to the audiobook of Eat, Sweat, Play by Anna Castle. So this is a account of women in sport and women's fitness and women in activity. And it covered a whole host of things that I was super, super duper interested in. Things like women in pregnancy, women and sport and periods, women and the menopause, women's representation in sport and sports journalism and things like that. It just covered everything ever. And myself not being like a sporty person, I've never really been into sports. I don't follow any sports. I hated PE when I was younger. I would do whatever I could to try and get out of it. It really made me want to be active, and it's sort of making me think about next year, not this month because I'm so bloody busy, but next year, what my sort of New Year's resolutions will be in terms of becoming sort of stronger. Someone rang me, so I had to stop. Stronger and happy with my body and activity, because although, as I said earlier, mentioning body positivity, God, I'm getting everything out today. I'm very happy with my body and the way I look and everything like that, but I would like to be slightly fitter and not get worn out walking upstairs, etc. So that did make me think that I would like to do a bit more activity, and very much enjoyed it. I listened to it for my audiobook. I will, for my online book club. I will say, however, the audiobook, the narrator, it's narrated by the author. She speaks so slowly. I had to have it on like 1.5 to even be able to listen to it, just because it was so slowly. Now, I do listen to audiobooks normally on 1.25 or 1.5 anyway, but there was no way I could have listened to it on 1. It was just so slowly. She just speaks so slowly. And yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I believe I gave it 3 stars. So now we're on to, do you know what it is? I think it's because I've been eating sweets off this sweet table and I've got some in my throat. Now I'm going to get into the Christmas books. Now I've listened to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Christmas books and listened to an audiobook. So that's a Christmas book a day so far this month. Well done me. I'm filming this on Thursday. And some of them are very small. Some of them... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are very small, but I have got other Christmas books too that are on the go at the moment as well. So the first one I read was Pablo Picasso's Noel by Carol Duffy. So I really love these, the way they look. I've got 3 of them. I'm planning on buying one at Christmas every year, just to sort of build my collection up. They've got at the back all the ones that they've got. So I've read all 3 of the ones that I've got for this year, just because they're very cute, and I've been sort of reading them in bed last thing at night. This is the one I bought this year. This is it's poetry. It's Carol Ann Duffy's poetry. A long poem, one single poem throughout, illustrated. This was about Pablo Picasso on Christmas Eve and his dog. I thought it was fine. It's my least favourite of the 3 that I own. However, I really do like the front cover with the stars. I think I gave it 2 stars. Then the next one I read was this very thin Mog's Christmas Calamity by Judith Kurt. Now, I think I might have mentioned this when I was doing my my December TBR, but Mog is a character that I used to read when I was growing up, and I really love him. And this story is the story that was in the Sainsbury's Christmas advert a few years ago. I will link the Sainsbury's Christmas advert down below because it is really lovely, about Mog on Christmas Eve. potentially starting a fire and then calling the fire brigade for them to come and to put the fire out, and then just about sort of like neighbourhood and community and loveliness. It's really, really short, but it's also really, really sweet, and I love the illustrations. It just takes me right back to my childhood. The next one I also read was also a very, very, very small child's book, and that is The Dinosaur That Pooped Christmas by Tom Fletcher and Dougie Pointer. This is a bit of a daft book, actually, about a child that is very spoiled and wants everything, and a dinosaur comes and eats all of Christmas and then poos it all back out again. I think I gave it 2 stars. It just, like, it's not, although, like, very, like, I can see why kids would like these illustrations. These aren't the illustrations that I'd like, that I'm mad into, or sort of like the colour scheme that I'm mad into. And I just thought it was a bit daft. But I gave it 2 stars. But yeah, a bit daft. It's not going to go in there. Put that there. The next one I read was the next little Carol Ann Duffy book I've got, and that is The King of Christmas. This one is illustrated by Lara Hawthorne. I really like this. I really like the big scenes in it. Let me see if I can find one. It was very, very cute. Oh, no. There's a few pages where it's just like big pages of parties. Where's the big pages of parties? Oh, so there's one of the castle. So this is about the king and his sort of court being very bored and appointing a, I would say, like, probably not so much in a jester role, but a sort of lord of Christmas, who then gets Christmas started, and they have lots of parties and get a bit drunk and things like that. Here's another one. This is the party. But I really, really liked the sort of old-fashioned storyline set with sort of like modern language, and then like the illustrations and stuff. So I gave this one 3 stars. Thought it was very, very good. And then a book that I finished yesterday, no, day before yesterday, is Father Christmas and Me by Matt Haig. I listened to the audio of The Girl That Invented Christmas, the Girl Who Saved Christmas, sorry, which I listened to last year, and I didn't think much of it. However, I really, really enjoyed this. I don't know if it's because maybe I didn't get on with the audio, but I really, really love this, and you definitely don't need to have read any of the Matt Haig Christmas books in order to read this. But this was really fun, sort of children's story, but with much deeper meaning. For instance, incorporating themes such as sort of fake news and people maybe corrupting certain aspects of life and things like that. But I really liked it. I really like the illustrations. I really like Amelia. She's a good little main character to have. I mean, I love a children's book with a main female character. But yeah, like I said, the illustrations are really nice, and it was just a really fun book. And there's a cat in it called Captain Soot, and I really like him as well. So yeah, I think I gave this 4 stars. I think I very much enjoyed that. So, and then the last one is the one that I've given 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars last year, and I loved it last year. But this year, I just adored it, and I've got a feeling like I'm going to read this again this month, and I'm going to read it to David, and I'm just going to encourage everyone to read it. It is the last of the Carol Ann Duffys I've got. It is Another Night Before Christmas, illustrated by Rob Ryan. Now, I love Rob Ryan, and I love his illustrations, and I feel like that has probably brought a lot more to this for me. So Rob Ryan is an illustrator who always has a sort of scalloped edge around things. Every single picture in this book is in black and white with a sort of flash of gold, but there's a particular, like this, like, it's so beautifully done and is so gorgeously written. It is about the night before Christmas, but this particular, like, I read it in my head, I read it aloud, then I went and found David and read it aloud to David, and I just think it's, this particular verse is just gorgeous. So, the hushed street was in darkness, snow duveyed the cars, a stray cat had embroidered each roof with its paws, an owl on an aerial had planet for eyes, the child at the window stared up at the sky. And it's just, I just love it, and throughout, like, that's just a taster of how gorgeous it is, and the illustrations just make it. And like, this is a 5-star, I mean, a tiny, tiny little book, 5-star read, gorgeous little Christmas gift it would make. Like, I feel like this could potentially be in my best books of 2017. Like, I know it's the smallest little thing, but I love it. It's beautiful, and the words are beautiful. Really, really, really love that. So those are the books that I've read in the last bit of November and the first bit of December. Obviously, my favourite was Another Night Before Christmas by Carol Ann Duffy. What books have you been reading? Did you guys join in with Non-Fiction November? Have you been reading Christmas books for the beginning of December? I'm going to continue to try to read a Christmas book a day. It's going quite well. I've already... Oh, sorry, the last book that I've read this month as well has been The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher. I've just listened to the audiobook of it. I read it last year and gave it 4 stars. I think I'm going to give it 5 stars this year because the audio, which I believe is by Paul Shelley, was just brilliant. It was read by an old man. He did... his voice was perfect for the story. His voice was perfect for the songs and things like that. The Christmasaurus is a children's book about... a dinosaur that is born in the North Pole and comes down to Earth as a sort of accidental gift to a character called William Trundle, who is a young lad who is in a wheelchair and is having like not the greatest time at school, and it's just lovely about friendship, about believing in yourself, and just it was lovely. And David and I are going to see the actual stage show of it at the end of the month, so super duper excited about it. David's been listening to the songs like constantly, and the audiobook was lovely. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars last year and 5 stars this year. Really loved it. So those are the books that I've read in the month of in the last part of November and the early part of December. What have you guys been reading? Did you join in with Non-Fiction November? Have you been reading Christmas books? Would love to hear how your reading is going, your festive reading is going. And I will see you all again tomorrow for another Vlogmas video.